Hey guys, welcome back to this week's poll here on Comic Relief Cast. I'm your host Jake.
And I'm Josh. Hey Jake, got a quick question for you.
Is it why do I sound like less enthusiastic? Because I'm just trying not to get the audio to spike.
What are we reading?
Alright, thank you for asking that, Josh. And guys, as you can see, you've clicked on the DC episode for the week. So what we're going over this week is Justice League Dark, Issue 8, Wonder Twins, Issue 1, Hawkman, Issue 9, Superman, Issue 8, The Flash, 64, Magic Order, number 6, Gideon Falls, number 11, Criminal, number 2, Batman Who Laughs, number 3, and Detective Comics 998. As you guys can see, we have done a lot of reading for you guys this week for this episode, so we can go over just about everything you can think of. But we are going to try and keep it nice, short, and sweet for you. Get right to the point. So the first thing going over is Justice League Dark, Issue 8 by James Tynion, and the artist is Martinez Bueno. And if you guys have been reading Justice League Dark, you guys know that they're still dealing with the other kind. The magic in the DC universe is still kind of under attack, and they're basically trying to get all the magic people in one place and get them out so the other kind cannot feed on the magic. And Josh, how'd you feel about this issue?
Justice League Dark has been a consistently good issue, good series. I think it's a crime for people who haven't been actually reading it. I don't understand. There's some people that don't like it, and I don't understand. And it's just another good installment for the series, and a great I wouldn't say introduction to a new kind of like story arc where we're going, because it's already been kind of going on. But it's another good installment for this new story arc after leaving the Witching Hour.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it's a great follow-up because it's not just carrying over a completely new arc as if it's like started over. It's still carrying on a lot of the stuff, the elements that were in that storyline. So we're getting to kind of continue that in Dr. Fate. As you guys can tell by this awesome cover, Dr. Fate is still somewhat of a presence. And the other thing I really like, too, is that Man-Bat, there's this kind of ongoing thing the past few issues where they're not really sure if he's losing his mind or not. You know, they're kind of like keeping him contained and in quarantine, like, hey, we're not sure what's going on with you. You kind of seem to be out of your mind a little bit, so why don't you just take some time to yourself, get straightened out. But it turns out he might be working on something that might be more important than anything else anybody on the team is doing, and I really dig that.
Yeah, I do too. It's showing that he's a little bit more prominent of a character in the team. Bobo's still killing it.
Yeah, Bobo's still a great character.
Yeah, and the artwork's great in it. It's a good series. I do highly recommend the series as a whole.
Yeah, I'd say if you guys have been picking up Justice League Dark, this is still a series worth picking up. Do not let it fall by the wayside. And Josh, I will let you again unveil this week's episodes.
Two episodes in a row. Okay. This rating scale comes from Wonder Twins, since Wonder Twins is issue 1 comes out tomorrow. I'm going to give this book 3 Thunderlusts.
Damn it, I'm right there with you. Now I feel like I'm you. 3.0 Thunderlusts.
Thunderlust.
All right,
did I say Wonderlust?
I don't know now.
It's Thunderlust, guys.
Thunderlust.
Now I'm sitting there going like, oh, I probably said Wonderlust.
All right, moving on to Wonder Twins issue 1. The writer is Mark Russell. The artist and the cover is Stephen Byrne. The reason I was actually interested in picking this book up, other than it being an issue 1 for DC, was because I really like Mark Russell. He did the Flintstones. He also did that Snagglepuss Exit Stage Left.
A lot of people are highly recommending.
Yeah, and I still have yet to read it. We've got it. Yeah, we've got it here in the shop. I'm very much looking forward to it. But I go, okay, if I can get more of the writer who did the Flintstone series, that was just absolutely impeccable. I figure I'll check out Wonder Twins. Plus, we got a little bit of the previews in the back of the books in the previous weeks. And basically, it's just the Wonder Twins. You find out what planet they come from. They come to live on Earth. Find out Superman kind of brought them here to kind of live among humankind. And then Mr. Mxyzptlk comes in, does his little thing. But the main focus is just how do these two characters, the Wonder Twins, adapt to human life, going to school, those kinds of things. It's just a little bit more of the focus on the mundane stuff. And what do you think, Josh?
It's cute. It's a cute story. I was hoping with it being Mark Russell that it'd be a little bit more. It would kind of hit more on like the talking about social norms.
Right.
It does talk a little bit about them, but the one thing that's really great about Flintstones was the fact of how relatable it was and how it shows you.
There was that meta commentary about the world we live in today and how it's not different from the bedrock.
And though this one has meta commentary, it does have the meta commentary that's in there is probably more for a younger, for high schoolers, middle schoolers, and but it does have this nice. It's cute. It's a cute story, and it's a nice little story of these twins, and I mean for the most part, Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see the Wonder Twins finally brought into the comic books. I think they're actually original characters from the Super Friends back in the 70s. So I think this is actually their first time in the comic books. If not, it's at least their first solo miniseries. But yeah, you're right. I was looking for Mark Russell to kind of play with the meta commentary on, and maybe what teenage life is like now, but what it really does feel like is something just more geared towards a younger audience, somebody who's a little bit more in their formative years, going through adolescence and puberty. I think that's going to be much more relatable for that audience than it is for somebody, guys like us who are pushing 30 years old.
Old dudes.
Yeah, we're pushing 30, so it's not really a time of our lives that we can relate to anymore.
Yeah.
Honestly, that time does feel like a lifetime ago. But it's a decent read, not something I'm personally going to be picking up. What about you? Are you going to get this issue on?
I'm not gonna. I mean, if I do pick it up, it's going to be for the Dustin Wynn variant. There's a really nice variant for this book.
That's a nice boulder.
But for the most part, yeah, I'm probably. This is probably not going to be a series that I will continue getting, but I do highly recommend this for young adults.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and with that,
Wonder Twin fans. Let me also anybody who's a fan of Wonder Twins.
Yeah, the three of you. So I'm gonna give Thunder Twins. Okay, the Wonder Twins.
God, it's cold, guys.
It is.
Yeah, we're doing this in the cold.
It's cold and it's late. I'm gonna give Wonder Twins 2.6 Thunderlusts.
I'm gonna give it 2.75 Thunderlust.
All right,
It had a lot of really funny moments in there.
All right, well, I'm gonna move on to Hawkman issue 9 by Robert Venditti and Brian Hitch. And as you guys know, I just keep touting this series. I love this series. Hawkman's great. It's got a cool variant cover again this week, but. It's the Deathbringers are here. What else can I say? They've been kind of building up towards it, and this is the very first Deathbringers coming to Earth, and Carter Hall having to go off and fight them. Now, I will say there's not as much of the Indiana Jones aspect as there has been in the last 7 issues. This one is definitely more just a kickstart off the big battle that's going to be going on. And while I appreciate that and I like that, I do prefer a little bit more of that Indiana Jones archaeological discovery. Carter Hall going through his past lives, trying to remember things. This is all of it coming to a head, and it's not like the big battle. It's the start of the big battle. So I liked it. It's not my favorite issue of Hawkman, but still a very solid entrance in the series. I'm going to give it 3.1 Thunderlusts.
All right, I read Superman number 8 by Brian Michael Bendis and Ivan Reyes. God, whew, that was a hard one there for a second. I don't know why. This book just follows up with John Kent returning, and now he has become 17 years old after being, like, the last time they saw him was 12, and he's, like, skipped so many years. And it just kind of hits a little bit on what was going on while he was with Jor-El in space. It was a decent issue. It wasn't really bad. But it wasn't good. I would say it's like right there in this middle. So I'm going to give it a 2.5 Thunderlust. I'm just going to make it short and simple. But the pencils were great in it. And I mean, if you're liking Superman, you're going to like this issue.
All right, moving on to The Flash, issue 64, The Price, part 2. As you guys know, this is switching back and forth, 2 issues for Batman, 2 issues for Flash, and they're skipping over it to each other, crossing over to each other, and telling a full little mini story. And what this is it's also a Heroes in Crisis tie-in, so if you guys are getting Heroes in Crisis, you're reading that, or you're not reading that, I'd say pick up Heroes in Crisis to get a little bit of context for this issue. But basically, Flash and Batman are teaming up, and they're trying to solve this crime that's going on. And if you guys heard us talk about the Batman issue last time, it's Gotham Girl. She's kind of the person that they're tracking down, and you find out maybe she I don't want to give too much away, but
don't give too much.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away. But what I do like in this issue, also I should say it's by Joshua Williamson and Sandoval on the art, but the art's great, by the way. I love that Flash got a new artist.
That art was great, yeah.
But the best parts about this book are the interactions between Flash and Batman. I like that I never really thought about it too much, but they're kind of two sides of of the same coin in the sense that they're both detectives. They're both good at doing like forensic analysis and solving mysteries and murders, things like that. But Flash and Batman, they approach those things from a very different ideological perspective, I'd say. And so I really like when they clash and they hit, they kind of butt heads, but they're also friends, and I like that. I like seeing that they're friends, even though they don't always agree on everything all the time.
It's very true friendship. I mean, we don't agree a lot.
I pretty much hate you most of the time. but
I
yeah.
mean, I'm right there with you. Sometimes you can be a douchebag.
Okay, and sometimes you can be an
Okay,
annoying...
this is really it's getting off track.
This is
Let's go
not
back.
a therapy session.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I like this issue. I was kind of like a little worried about this event after reading the Batman issue. This issue, I think what saves it though is actually I want to rephrase what you said, the non-interactions of Flash and Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Because
You know
they
what? Good
never
call.
really communicate what they're feeling
Every
to
time,
each other.
Yeah, every time they get to that point, something comes up and they have to change the subject.
You're just realizing how they feel about each other through eternal monologue, and it's really cool because it's just like a lot of unspoken, feelings towards each other. And then right now, things are just really tense between the two because of stuff that's going on in Heroes in Crisis and the fact that the case has gone kind of cold.
And Batman's demons kind of coming back to haunt him a little bit, which is
Yeah.
kind of a recurring theme with Batman. No, I did like this issue. I do. And I got to say, so far, the way this is shaping up, I like it a lot more than the button.
Yeah,
Which kind of amounted to a zero sum. But my main gripe about this is that these issues feel too short. These issues, I'm like, okay, you're doing 4 issues of this crossover. Here's issue 2. I feel like I'm not getting a lot of information, and that it's just kind of short and condensed, and I'm kind of wanting this to be fleshed out a little bit. I'm like, is there not very much story to tell, so you're trying to drag it out over 4 issues, or is the opposite true?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. I don't want to like sit here and make assumptions on that too soon. I don't want to get myself hyped up, but I also don't want to get myself too bummed out by it. I just want to kind of read this and as just newly coming into it. But I will say, I mean, if I will say it's too short in the fact that I want more issues of interactions between Batman and the Flash like this.
Yeah,
that's what I was expecting in the button, and that's what I was expecting with that last Batman issue. That's with the beginning of this, and I want more of that. And if I can get more of that, then I'm happy.
All right, and what would you grade this book?
This one I would give a solid, because of the pencils, and it's been a little while since I've seen a good artist on Flash. I'm gonna give it a 3 Thunderlust.
Okay, I'm just right underneath you with 2.85.
See, that's where I was gonna
Thunderlust.
go, but man, those pencils were great.
Oh, and I loved Sandoval when he was doing Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern
Yeah.
Corps. All right, I'm going to be moving on to The Magic Order, Issue 6 by Mark Millar and Olivier Coipel. I think I finally figured out how to say his name correctly. And this is the final kind of wrap-up of the first story arc, everything going on with Reagan and Gabriel and Cordelia. And, man, this book is just awesome. It's just so much fun to read. I love the mystery that's unraveling. I love the kind of backstabbing and the cloak and dagger aspect of this book. It makes it a lot of fun. And Mark Millar, when he's allowed to just kind of do his own thing, the dude's got such a big imagination. And I absolutely love the first 6 issues of this. So I'm kind of grading this as an entire series. But this is something I would definitely recommend picking up to anybody who's a fan of Mark Millar's writing style. I know he's not for everybody, but if you do like him as a writer, if you liked Nemesis, or you liked Superior, or you liked Civil War, or the original Old Man Logan, Huck, or Jupiter's Circle, Jupiter's Legacy, that kind of stuff, this is right up your alley. This is Mark Millar at his finest, doing what he loves to do. And I like that. I like how he always takes the superhero trope or just the comic book tropes and just kind of flips it on its ear, and it makes something new, fresh, and original. And the Magic Order, I think, is absolutely in keeping with Mark Millar and his stylistics. So this is something I would definitely recommend picking up. Issue 6 does wrap up a little neatly, but what I really, really liked is that at the very end of this book, it says, let me find it real quick, end of book 1, which lets me know Mark Millar is at least contemplating continuing the series with these characters, because I would love to get a little bit more material with these characters and fleshing them out, because the one detriment to the series is that so much is happening that you don't get to know the characters all that well, and I would love to get to know a little bit more about what makes these characters tick. So with that, I'm going to give Magic Order as a whole 3.6 Thunderlust. I think it's a great little series.
What about that issue by itself?
The issue by itself, it's a good wrap up. I'm going to say it's not as strong as the series as a whole. I'd say this issue is a 3.4 Thunderlust.
Okay. I read Gideon Falls 11 by Andrea Sorrentino and Jeff Lemire.
Jeff Lemire is the writer, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm reading it by the order of whatever. I'm reading it by billing on the issue.
Okay.
All right. I'm mostly reviewing this because I did have a request to review this, because it is apparently by the synopsis, it is the end of the first story arc. So I don't want. Every time I review Gideon Falls, the one thing I do not want to do is tell too much of what happens in that book. But this issue was epic. The artwork in it is crazy. It's eerie. It's creepy. It does answer some, like, it gives you some answers of the situation.
Keep talking.
It does answer the some, like, of the questions that you would be having about the situation that they're in, but still not giving you enough to, like, full-fledged give out the mystery. It is going to be continuing on an issue 12 and apparently beginning a new story arc, which it just seems like to me it's actually this continuing the same story arc. It's just now there's something that's changed. But other than that, yes, the storyline has been doing consistently throughout the whole series. It gives you a little bit of information, but at the same time making you really confused and not knowing exactly what's going on. With this issue, I'm going to give it a 3.5 Thunderlust. I loved it. It was great. As for the first 11 issues, as apparently the end of the first story arc, I'm going to give it 4.5.
Wow.
I love Gideon Falls.
Well, yeah, I just actually got caught up on the first trade, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. All right, and then another thing that me and Jake read was Hit Girl. That's starting off with number 1, so Hit Girl in Hollywood. It's written by Kevin Smith, and the artwork is done by Pernell Oram.
Oram, yep.
Yeah, Oram.
And when we say written by Kevin Smith, we're going to use that in quotes because this is going to be quick, guys. We read this new Hit Girl. I think it's called, I forget what it's called, Back in Action or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But there is absolutely no dialogue in this entire issue until the very last page. But it's a very well visually told story. I mean, you can kind of imagine what Hit Girl would be saying. It's actually kind of a cool play on the fact that Hit Girl is kind of this foul-mouthed little girl who's just out murdering people. In this entire book, she's not saying a damn word. But in Kevin Smith's fashion, as you kind of put it, how would you say?
In Kevin Smith?
Well, what would you liken it to?
Oh, all right. It's Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what what the premise is kind of going for. But I mean, it was with there being no dialogue, it still was visually, it was still nice. I'm intrigued. I'm on board. I am going to read the next issue. I actually just recently stopped pulling the last Hit Girl. And now I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pick this up because it wasn't interesting to read. It's not a whole lot there's nothing to read.
It's a quick read. You get to just kind of scan over and it's visual storytelling.
Which is weird because I feel like Kevin Smith's writing, the best part about his writing in movies and in comic books is usually the dialogue, and there is no dialogue.
Yeah, maybe he's just trying to challenge himself. But with that, I can't really say too much on the book. The pencils are good. The pencils are nice. I like the art in the book. But I'm just going to give it right down the middle because I can't judge it really one way or the other right now. I'm going to go 2.5 Thunderlust.
I'm going to go 2.8 Thunderlust.
All right, I'm going to move on to Criminal, issue 2 by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. And if you guys have ever read the Criminal series before or you picked up issue 1, this issue goes to a new character. And I thought this issue was really cool because what it does is it focuses on this guy who is a comic book artist, and he was kind of an assistant to one of the greats. And they Brubaker goes out of his way to name drop a lot of the greats. You're going to see like Jerry Conway, Stan Lee, a bunch of other ones, and there's cool visual storytelling. So basically, they're going to this con, and his old mentor Hal is just an asshole of a guy, and he's got to kind of chauffeur him around. And it turns out his old mentor, who's got himself into some bad financial situations, is kind of doing some stuff that's not really on the up and up. But you see him go to a con, you see some cosplay and stuff, and Sean Phillips is a great artist, so it makes for a lot of fun. But what really does it, like you said before in the first issue of Criminal, it felt like I was just watching a movie. I didn't really feel like I was reading. I just felt like I was watching this story unfold, and I was along for the ride. And that's just part of the charm of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips as a team. They just work so well in tandem together. Criminal issue 2, I'm going to give 4 Thunderlust. Great issue. I am so much looking forward to what else comes out of this duo.
All right. I read Detective Comics 998 by Tomasi and Menke.
Yeah, with that cover art by Gary Frank.
The variant cover by Gary Frank is beautiful, and of course, I'm going to pick it up. But this is... I realize what it is that I like about the Detective Comics over Batman is, me and one of our regulars were discussing this. Tom King writes Batman to fit for Tom King. Tomasi's been writing Batman and it feels like he's writing Batman, and it's something fresh. So even when there's moments that's in it that's kind of goofy, that Batman would be doing this, it still feels like Batman just from a different, maybe Batman from the 70s and stuff. But this was a good issue. It was a fun issue. It was action-packed. It's Batman pretty much going up, teaming up with Etrigan and going up against this creature, this nightmare that he's been, or not nightmare, but kind of nightmare that he's been going up against for the past few issues. And it was a cool comic. And if you are a fan of Batman that is not Tom King's Batman, if you're a fan of, some of the cheesy kind of Batman stuff, or the cool Batman stuff, the action-packed Batman, the games,
how about the detective Batman?
The detective Batman,
I mean,
all
it
that
is in
stuff.
the title.
Yes, it is all in the title. If you're a fan of those Batmans, all those kind of Batmans are all kind of combined into Tomasi's Batman. And I think that's what makes Detective Comics better than Batman right now. And with that being said, I'm going to give this issue a solid I'll give it 2.85 Thunderlust.
All right, and the issue you guys have all been waiting for us to talk about. It is the issue 3 of 6 of the Batman Who Laughs by Scott Snyder. I always want to say Zack Snyder. Scott Snyder and Jock. And so as you guys, if you've been reading this book, which I highly recommend that you do, Batman's just kind of fraying at the edges. He's kind of losing his mind. He's really close to being pushed off the edge. And actually, a lot of this issue focuses on James Gordon Jr., the notorious psychopath, basically, who's a mass murderer, and how he's been reformed, and how Batman actually needs him to go back to his murdering ways to help him stop the Batman Who Laughs. And of course, a lot of people have been talking about the Grim Knight. The Grim Knight shows up in this book, but there's a lot of really cool ideas, a lot of things that Snyder's still able to kind of flesh out in Batman. There's a lot of things he can talk about, a lot of scientific jargon, but also a lot of just history of Batman that you don't really see touched on a lot, and I like that he's doing that. I will say that out of the 3 issues, I think this is actually the weakest installment, and I think it's all due to the fact the way this book ends. The way this book ended, I was not a big fan of. I'm curious to see where it goes, but I didn't want to see it go that route. If Snyder can pull this one out, though, and make me a big fan of the way this book ends with the way it fleshes itself out in the next 3 issues, I'm going to say we have maybe one of the best little miniseries of Batman in quite a while.
I will say that the ending, though, that's where I kind of figured this was going to be going.
I did too, and I was hoping he would just find it.
But I have a different theory, and we will discuss that off air.
Yeah.
But with that being said, yeah, I would agree. This is the weakest installment. But at the same time, I do like it because it feels, I feel like out of all of them, this one feels a little bit more organized. Mostly because we're talking, like, you're not hopping back and forth from all these different ideas. You're kind of consistently staying mostly with James Gordon Jr.
Yeah, it definitely does. It does kind of get off the rails for a second with this penguin thing.
Yeah, it does.
Which it's very brief, so I can't really knock it for that. But I will say that whole little part felt unnecessary.
It does feel a little, that part did feel a little unnecessary, and also questionable at times. But other than that, no. It's just we're mentioning these negative things, but with that being said, we're saying that this is the weakest installment of a series that we have consistently liked, of a character and of a writer who we have not been fans of as of for the past couple of years, and for one of us since the creation of the character.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still a solid issue.
It is, yeah. I mean, I have a few nitpicks, and say, I am saying it's the weakest of the 3, but that is by no way me saying that this is a bad issue. This is still a good issue and still a worthy series to be picking up.
And once again, you have 2 great covers that makes it hard for you to pick between the 2.
Yeah, this time I actually got the variant for myself, and with me saying that, guys, this is a definite must pick up. I would absolutely highly recommend picking this book. I would also recommend picking up Criminal, and I would also recommend picking up Hawkman or Justice League Dark.
I recommend picking up Batman Who Laughs. I also recommend picking up Gideon Falls, especially if pick up that trade at least. I know a lot of people's not on that train yet. I definitely suggest that you pick up Detective Comics and The Flash. This new little mini-series, I think it's going to be a little bit better than what we think. But back on to Batman Who Laughs. What do you give this book?
I'm going to give this one a very solid 3.75. Thunderlust. I think that's a very fair one, and considering that the first 2 issues I gave, I think, higher than that, still makes this a damn good book.
I put it at 3.5 Thunderlust.
Okay, so I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than you did.
You enjoyed it a little bit more, but you know what? To be honest, I think you actually been enjoying this run a lot more than I have. Since
I think it's the
issue
surprise factor, just
I think
not
it is.
realizing that, thinking. I was writing the series off like I'm gonna hate this, I'm gonna read issue 1, never have to read this series again, and
Hey, that's my sales point for most people that come into the shop. Is like, hey, you remember how much Jake hated this guy, hated this writer and this character? He loves this
He's
book.
personally collecting this book. All right, guys. Well, I think that is all we've got for you for this episode. Thank you so much for listening this far. We got a lot of subscribers over the last week. We really appreciate all the new listeners who are here. We hope that this content is good enough for you. But please, feel free to comment below. Any way we can improve for you, please let us know. We can take constructive criticism with a smile. Also, comment below any of the comics that you are picking up this week, if you're not picking any of these up this week. Plus, there are a few that we still have not read that we can also talk about in the comments later this week. Hit that like button or hit that dislike button for me not loving the new Batman Flash crossover. That's okay, I can take it. Share this with all your comic book reading friends, and of course, guys, if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. We're growing. We're getting close to. We're nipping at the heels of 1,000 here soon. So help us get there if you can, and we will see you guys next time.
Wonderlust.